For the most part, our relationships are very important to us. The relationships in our life, both friendships and romantic, can color our lives in very positive ways and can enhance our lives on a day-to-day basis. But sometimes we're in relationships that don't help us, that take away from our quality of life, where we can feel bad, we can feel shame, we can feel overwhelmed, and even sometimes we may feel as though we're losing our mind. If you feel like this in any relationship right now, you can't miss this video. Hi friends, I'm glad to be back today. And today I'm going to be talking about the 7 signs that you are being manipulated in a relationship. The first sign of manipulation that I want to talk about today is if you really love me, you would do this for me. If you were really my true friend, you would do XYZ. So whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, somebody's asking you to do something based on the definition of your relationship. Oftentimes, the things that they're asking you to do make you feel as though you are compromising yourself, and you probably are. And oftentimes you give in the beginning because you think it's a one-off situation. They're asking me to do this one thing and then it's not a big deal. Even though I feel uncomfortable, I don't feel really good about doing it, I'm going to do this now and we can get past this. But more times than not, this is just the beginning, right? And when we do these things that go against our values and the way we feel in our belief system, it shows to the other person that we absolutely have no boundaries, at least when it comes to them. And the other person is able to continue to manipulate and walk over your boundaries, preying on you to know that you're going to sacrifice yourself for them because you've done it in the past. You know, often that person makes us feel bad about not doing it or shames us into not doing it as well. You know, saying and stressing the fact that if we really did care about them, if we were really a true friend, we would come through. I think this is very significant because I think for many of us, we're trying so hard in a relationship, doing the best we can, wanting to put every foot forward that we can in the relationship, but sometimes we're sacrificing ourselves. And I think this is shown directly in the first sign of manipulation. The second sign of being manipulated is emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail is pretty intense, and it can make us feel very guilty and scared to leave the relationship in fear of what the other person is going to do to themselves more often than us. A comment that might come from emotional blackmail is, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. Another comment could be, I would die without you in my life. And these comments make us feel very scared to leave. It's a very controlling comment because we're staying for the fact that we don't want them to hurt themselves if we leave. Part of it is a little egotistical as well, that the other person would actually kill themselves if we actually leave the relationship. And so part of it is us, and part of it is the guilt that we're receiving from them. Remember, another person's life is not our responsibility. The responsibility that you have is for yourself, to take responsibility for your life, your actions, your emotions, and your feelings. You're not supposed to take responsibility for theirs. One interesting thing, though, is that if somebody does say that they are going to harm themselves or kill themselves because you're leaving them, at that time, the best thing to do is to look at them and tell them that you do care about them, but if they continue in this line of conversation, that you will have to call the police because you fear that they actually will hurt themselves. There is a chance that somebody could actually do it. But the other option is this, is that we're not going to just be bullied in or guilted into staying in the relationship, as well as we're not going to take this lightly, but we're also not going to be controlled by someone else telling us that if we do something, that they're going to hurt themselves. That doesn't make for a good relationship. The third sign that you are being manipulated in a relationship is they are constantly the victim. Everything you do is not right. You're constantly at fault. You feel as though you're walking on eggshells to make them happy. And everything you do isn't adding up to making them happy. It's just making you feel worse. And one of the things that I find very interesting in this situation is that when we are being manipulated and we are feeling that way, we are finding ourselves constantly apologizing for our actions, what we said, what we did, and what we didn't do. because we're trying to make this person happy. And this is a big sign of manipulation, because when somebody is playing the victim role and making us feel bad about something we've done constantly over and over again, they're not taking responsibility for their own happiness. We've begun to believe that we are responsible for their happiness, and they keep playing that card over and over again to make us do even more things for them, to gratify them in more ways, and to constantly be at their beck and call. The fourth sign of being manipulated in a relationship, and this is one that's very unique, but happens more often than not. And I call this one the home advantage. You often hear of friends who have fallen in love with someone out of state, out of the city, in a different part of the state. And they fall in love and they decide that they're going to make this relationship work. And so they go and they move away from their friends, they move away from their family, they move to a place that they don't really know anybody but the person that they're living with. And in a very healthy relationship, the other person would introduce them to friends, would introduce them to family, would show them around, would really get them the lay of the land so they feel comfortable in their surroundings. However, if you're being manipulated in a situation like this, the person that has the home advantage wants to keep the home advantage. When it comes to people and friends, when it comes to going out and knowing your way around, they want to keep you at their beck and call constantly, so that you're depending on them for rides, depending on them for the directions, and depending on them to go out, to do things, to go to dinner, and the list goes on. I think on a smaller example, many of us have gone to visit friends out of state, out of town, and we were expecting to have a really fun time, and it turns out to be this person controlling every single bit of the vacation. And it's on their time. When you want to go do something, it's based on when they're available. And they almost make you feel like you're an outsider. And I've felt that way before. I've been in situations like that with friends that have controlled the situation. And I didn't feel comfortable the entire time. And I felt like I was constantly manipulated because I really didn't know my way around. It wasn't really that pleasant of an experience. And I felt like I was constantly being controlled, and I wasn't able to even see the town in my own time and do what I wanted to do. It seems like I was just doing whatever they wanted to do, and I felt constantly controlled. So if somebody's actually moved in with somebody that they love and in that situation, you can see how this can be not only controlling, but it can also lead to a very lonely feeling. And when we're lonely, we have a tendency of what? More codependency, because we don't have anybody else to cling to, and we feel as though we're a fish out of water. The fifth sign of manipulation, and one that has actually gotten me several times in what I call manipulative friendships, right, is when the friend, and this could happen with your loved one as well, ask you to do something for them that's really big. It's a large undertaking. It's huge. It's something that you wouldn't really ask anybody on the planet to do, okay? And it's like, wow. And they ask you this, and they're very calm and collected when they're asking you this. And it's like they're asking you to move mountains, basically. And what happens in this situation is you have no ability to do that. So you look at them and you say, I can't do that. I don't really have the ability or the means to make that happen. And they're very calm about it, but then they come back with asking you to do something else. The other thing is quite a bit smaller than the big thing, but it still takes you to go out of your way. It still takes you to do something you really don't want to do, but you agree to it anyway because it's not as huge as the first thing. And I have actually been a victim of that with what I call friendships, where the big thing is so overwhelming to me that I can't even, contemplate the idea of even doing it, much less being able to create whatever they need, that when they come back with the second ask, I jump on it really quickly and say, I can take care of it. And I don't realize that I have been completely manipulated because they never expected me to do the big thing, right? They wanted to pull off the heist on the second thing, and they knew that if they asked for something that I couldn't do, I would feel guilty and sad about not being able to do it, that I would agree to do with anything that they asked on the second time around. Something to really watch out for. The sixth sign that you're being manipulated in a relationship is the use of a technique called gaslighting. I recently actually did a video on this channel covering what gaslighting is, the methodology of it, how it's used, and how it's used to gain control, and also what you can do about it. You can find the link to the video right here. And just real quickly, because I want to cover it very quickly, gaslighting is it's a technique that's used to manipulate the way things happen, like past events, conversations that took place, right? The way that things took place, memories of situations, and how you responded to it or what your actions were in that situation. And so the other person that's using gaslighting uses this as a way of control, okay? Because we begin to question the way things really went down if we're actually losing our memory or even losing our mind. And so when we look to the other person, they begin to seem to hold all the cards to what happened. They can also manipulate us into feeling bad about situations that took place that we might even feel like we don't even remember. So this is definitely a technique that's used, and often a technique that we are even unaware of in the relationship. Last but not least, sign number 7. They're just kidding. They're just kidding. So you can't take a joke. Oftentimes when we're being manipulated, people will put us down in the guise of a joke. When we get upset about it, they'll just tell us that we're super sensitive, okay? And that we have a tendency of not being able to take a joke. I mean, come on, I'm just kidding. But it's ways of really putting us down with them not having to be accountable for what they said. Because it's all cloaked and guised in a joke. It's supposed to be funny. And you know what? I have been the victim of that before, but I'm not going to be the victim of that anymore, okay? And I think that a lot of times that happens to all of us. The joke is on us when we're being manipulated. And so being aware of when somebody says, I'm just joking, if it hurts and it feels bad, this is full-on manipulation. They're like digging into you, and they're actually trying not to take accountability or responsibility by labeling it a joke when it's really a put-down. Real quick, I want to go through a few solutions. One of the things that I think is really important is to understand your value, to realize your value, and to work on your self-esteem. When we've been dealing with full-on manipulation in a relationship, our self-esteem is probably at an all-time low. And so if that's the case, seeking a life coach or a therapist is very appropriate. And you know, when you seek a therapist or life coach, finding someone that you can really communicate with and understands you. And when we're overcoming manipulation, this type of abuse takes time to get over. It takes time to get past and to understand why we were in the situation in the first place. And so that's somebody that you want to work with. And when we work with a therapist, what's so cool about that is when I work with clients, it's private. It's private, and you can really be in a safe zone, in a safe place, speaking from your heart and actually talking about your feelings in a way that you can get help very quickly to overcome that and to let go of that abuse, to see your true and honest personal power, as well as see the value within yourself. Because when we're in manipulative relationships for a long period of time, it really takes away from us. It makes us feel really low, it makes us feel guilty, and it makes us feel ashamed. None of those help us with our self-esteem and our self-worth. The next thing that we want to do is letting go of that relationship. And I've talked about that in several different videos on this channel as well. When we realize that a relationship is manipulative, we realize that it's not true. When somebody's manipulating us, they don't really truly love us. They don't unconditionally love us. They're trying to get something from us. And so that relationship is holding us back from true happiness and really feeling as though we're in our own power and ourselves. And it's something that you want to begin to figure out how to get out of that relationship and how to move forward, because your self-esteem, your self-worth, and your happiness depend upon it. And last but not least, I hope this video has helped you, because oftentimes, more than not, we don't even realize we're being manipulated. We don't even see the signs of it because we're not somebody that is manipulating. If you're not a manipulator, you're usually the last person to see the signs that you are being manipulated. And so this video is here to help you uncover the signs of manipulation, to understand, are you being manipulated in a current relationship? And obviously some solutions on what you can do. You're a valuable person, and you owe it to yourself to see your value. If you're being manipulated, if you don't have boundaries in the relationship, or you're crossing your boundaries because you're being manipulated in this relationship, being put down on a constant basis, and they're using emotional blackmail. None of this is helping you to see your true value. It's a person just trying to get one over on you, to get ahead, to use you, and to devalue you. I hope that these 7 signs of being manipulated has probably illuminated a situation in your life, or maybe this might be a video that you want to share with a friend or family member who may be in a relationship where they are being taken advantage of and manipulated. You know, these 7 signs of manipulation, these specific 7 signs, take away from our self-esteem and our self-worth. And I believe that manipulation is a form of abuse. And I think it's very important for us to understand the types of relationships we're in, to be able to see the writing on the wall, and to be able to understand the relationships that we probably need to let go of in our life to achieve our true calling. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have some comments that you would like to make, or some other signs of being manipulated in a relationship, please comment in the comment section below. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching this video. And in the meantime, don't forget to live your true life.